Religion and Dhamma. What is religion? 1. The word religion is an indefinite word with no fixed meaning. 2. It is one word with many meanings. 3. This is because religion has passed through many stages. The concept at each stage is called religion, though the concept at one stage has not had the same meaning which it had at the preceding stage or is likely to have at the succeeding stage. 4. The conception of religion was never fixed. 5. It has varied from time to time. 6. Because most of the phenomena such as lightning, rain and floods, the occurrence of which the primitive man could not explain, any weird performance done to control the phenomenon was called magic. Religion therefore came to be identified with magic. 7. Then came the second stage in the evolution of religion. In this stage, religion came to be identified with beliefs, rituals, ceremonies, prayers and sacrifices. 8. But this conception of religion is derivative. 9. The pivotal point in religion starts with the belief that there exists some power which causes these phenomena which primitive man did not know and could not understand. Magic lost its place at this stage. 10. This power was originally malevolent. But later it was felt that it could also be benevolent. 11. Beliefs, rites, ceremonies and sacrifices were necessary both to propitiate a benevolent power and also to conciliate an angry power. 12. Later that power was called God or the Creator. 13. Then came the third stage, that it is this God who created this world and also man. 14. This was followed by the belief that man has a soul, and the soul is eternal and is answerable to God for man's actions in the world. 15. This is, in short, the evolution of the concept of religion. 16. This is what religion has come to be, and this is what it connotes: belief in God, belief in soul, worship of God, curing of the erring soul, propitiating God by prayers, ceremonies, sacrifices, etc. How Dhamma differs from religion. 1. What the Buddha calls Dhamma differs fundamentally from what is called religion. 2. What the Buddha calls Dhamma is analogous to what the European theologians call religion. 3. But there is no greater affinity between the two. On the other hand, the differences between the two are very great. 4. On this account, some European theologians refuse to recognize the Buddha's Dhamma as religion. 5. There need be no regrets over this. The loss is theirs. It does no harm to the Buddha's Dhamma. Rather, it shows what is wanting in religion. 6. Instead of entering into this controversy, it is better to proceed to give an idea of Dhamma and show how it differs from religion. 7. Religion, it is said, is personal and one must keep it to oneself. One must not let it play its part in public life. 8. Contrary to this, Dhamma is social. It is fundamentally and essentially so. 9. Dhamma is righteousness, which means right relations between man and man in all spheres of life. 10. From this it is evident that one man, if he is alone, does not need Dhamma. 11. But when there are two men living in relation to each other, they must find a place for Dhamma whether they like it or not. Neither can escape it. 12. In other words, society cannot do without Dhamma. 13. Society has to choose one of the three alternatives. 14. Society may choose not to have any Dhamma as an instrument of government. For Dhamma is nothing if it is not an instrument of government. 15. This means society chooses the road to anarchy. 16. Secondly, society may choose the police, i.e., dictatorship, as an instrument of government. 17. Thirdly, society may choose Dhamma plus the magistrate wherever people fail to observe the Dhamma. 18. In anarchy and dictatorship, liberty is lost. 19. Only in the third liberty survives. 20. Those who want liberty must therefore have Dhamma. 21. Now what is Dhamma? And why is Dhamma necessary? According to the Buddha, Dhamma consists of prajna and karuna. 22. What is prajna? And why prajna? Prajna is understanding. The Buddha made prajna one of the two cornerstones of his Dhamma because he did not wish to leave any room for superstition. 23. What is karuna? And why karuna? Karuna is love. Because without it society can neither live nor grow. That is why the Buddha made it the second cornerstone of his Dhamma. 24. Such is the definition of the Buddha's Dhamma. 25. How different is this definition of Dhamma from that of religion? 26. So ancient, yet so modern is the definition of Dhamma given by the Buddha. 27. So aboriginal yet so original. 28. Not borrowed from anyone, yet so true. 29. A unique amalgam of prajna and karuna is the Dhamma of the Buddha. 30. Such is the difference between religion and Dhamma. The purpose of religion and the purpose of Dhamma. 1. What is the purpose of religion? What is the purpose of Dhamma? Are they one and the same? Or are they different? 2. The answer to these questions are to be found in two dialogues, one between the Buddha and Sunakhatta and the other between the Buddha and the Brahman Pottabda. 3. The Exalted One was once staying among the Mallas at Anupiya, one of their towns. 4. Now the Exalted One, having robed himself in the early morning, put on his cloak and took his ball and entered the town for alms. 5. On the way he thought it was too early to go for alms. Therefore he went to the pleasance where Bhagava the Wanderer dwelt and called on him. 6. On seeing the Blessed One, Bhagava got up, saluted him and said, "May it please you, sire, to be seated, here is a seat made ready for you." 7. The Exalted One sat down thereon, and Bhagava, taking a certain low stool, sat down beside him. So seated, Bhagava, the Wanderer, spake thus to the Exalted One. 8 some days ago, Lord, a good many days ago, Sunakhatta of the Likshavis called on me and spake thus, "I have now given up the Exalted One, Bhagava. I am remaining no longer under him, as my teacher." Is the fact really so, just as he said? 9. It is just so, Bhagava, as Sunakhatta of the Likshavis said, replied the Blessed One. 10. Some days ago, Bhagava, a good many days ago, Sunakhatta, the Likshavi, came to call on me and spake thus, "Sir, I now give up the Exalted One. I will henceforth remain no longer under him, as my teacher." When he told me this, I said to him, "But now, Sunakhatta, have I ever said to you, 'Come, Sunakhatta, live under me, as my pupil'?" 11. No, sir, you have not. 12. Or have you ever said to me, "Sir, I would fain dwell under the Exalted One, as my teacher"? 13. No, sir, I have not. 14. Then I asked him, "If I said not the one, and you said not the other, what are you and what am I that you talk of giving up?" See, foolish one, in how far the fault here is your own. 15. Well, but, sir, the Exalted One works me no mystic wonders surpassing the power of ordinary men. 16. Why, now Sunakhatta, have I ever said to you, "Come, take me as your teacher, Sunakhatta, and I will work for you mystic wonders surpassing the power of ordinary men"? 17. You have not, sir. 18. Or have you ever said to me, "Sir, I would fain take the Exalted One as my teacher, for he will work for me mystic wonders beyond the powers of ordinary men"? 19. I have not, sir. 20. But if I said not the one, and you said not the other, what are you and what am I, foolish man, that you talk of giving up? What think you, Sunakhatta? Whether mystic wonders beyond the power of ordinary man are wrought, or whether they are not, is the object for which I teach the Dhamma, that it leads to the thorough destruction of will for the doer thereof. 21. Whether, sir, they are so wrought or not, that is indeed the object for which the Dhamma is taught by the Exalted One. 22. If then, Sunakhatta, it matters not to that object whether mystic wonders are wrought or not, of what use to you would be the working of them? See, Foolish one, in how far the fault here is your own. 23. But, sir, the Exalted One does not reveal to me the beginning of things. 24. Why now, Sunakhatta, have I ever said to you, come, Sunakhatta, be my disciple and I will reveal to you the beginning of things? 25. Sir, you have not. 26. Or have you ever said to me, I will become the Exalted One's pupil, for he will reveal to me the beginning of things? 27. Sir, I have not. 28. But if I have not said the one and you have not said the other, what are you and what am I, foolish man, that you talk of giving up on that account? What think you, Sunakhatta? Whether the beginning of things be revealed, or whether it be not, is the object for which I teach the Dhamma, that it leads to the thorough destruction of ill for the doer thereof. 29. Whether, sir, they are revealed or not, that is indeed the object for which the Dhamma is taught by the Exalted One. 30. If then, Sunakhatta, it matters not to that object whether the beginning of things be revealed, or whether it be not, of what use to you would it be to have the beginning of things revealed? 31. This illustrates that religion is concerned with revealing the beginning of things and Dhamma is not. 2. The other differences between religion and Dhamma are brought out in the discussion between the Blessed One and Potthapda. 1. The Blessed One was once staying at Shravasti in Anathpindika's pleasance of the Jita's wood. Now at that time Potthapda, the wandering mendicant, was dwelling in the hall put up in Queen Mallika's park for a debate on general systems of philosophical opinion. 2. There was with him a great following of mendicants, to wit, 300. A dialogue took place between the Blessed Lord and Potthapda. Potthapda asked, 3. Then, sir, if that be so, tell me at least, is the world eternal? Is this alone the truth, and any other view mere folly? 4. That, Potthapda, is a matter on which I have expressed no opinion, replied the Blessed Lord. 5. Then, in the same terms, Potthapda asked each of the following questions. I. Is the world not eternal? 2. Is the world finite? 3. Is the world infinite? 4. Is the soul the same as the body? V. Is the soul one thing, and the body another? 6. Does one who has gained the truth live again after death? 7. Does he not live again after death? 8. Does he both live again and not live again after death? 9. Does he neither live again nor not live again after death? 6. And to each questions the Exalted One made the same reply. 7. That too, Potthapda, is a matter on which I have expressed no opinion. 8. But why has the Exalted One expressed no opinion on that? 9. Because this question is not calculated to profit, it is not concerned with the Dhamma, it does not redound even to the elements of right conduct, nor to detachment, nor to purification from lusts, nor to quietude, nor to tranquilization of heart, nor to real knowledge, nor to the insight of the higher stages of the path, nor to nirvana. Therefore is it that I express no opinion upon it. 10. Then what is it that the Exalted One has determined? 11. I have expounded, Potthapda, what dukkha is. I have expounded what is the origin of dukkha. I have expounded what is the cessation of dukkha. I have expounded what is the method by which one may reach the cessation of dukkha. 12. And why has the Exalted One put forth a statement as to that? 13. Because that question, Potthapda, is calculated to profit, is concerned with the Dhamma, redounds to the beginnings of right conduct, to detachment, to purification from lusts, to quietude, to tranquilization of heart, to real knowledge, to the insight of the higher stages of the path, and to nirvana. Therefore is it, Potthapda, that I have put forward a statement as to that. 14. In this dialogue it is clearly put forth what is the subject matter of religion and what is not the subject matter of Dhamma. The two are poles apart. 15. The purpose of religion is to explain the origin of the world. The purpose of Dhamma is to reconstruct the world. Morality and religion. 1. What is the place of morality in religion? 2. As a matter of truth, morality has no place in religion. 3. The content of religion consists of God, soul, prayers, worship, rituals, ceremonies and sacrifices. 4. Morality comes in only wherein man comes in relation to man. 5. Morality comes in into religion as a side wind to maintain peace and order. 6. Religion is a triangular piece. 7. Be good to your neighbor because you are both children of God. 8. That is the argument of religion. 9. Every religion preaches morality, but morality is not the root of religion. 10. It is a wagon attached to it. It is attached and detached as the occasion requires. 11. The action of morality in the functioning of religion is therefore casual and occasional. 12. Morality in religion is therefore not effective. 5. Dhamma and morality. 1. What is the place of morality in Dhamma? 2. The simple answer is morality is Dhamma and Dhamma is morality. 3. In other words, in Dhamma morality takes the place of God although there is no God in Dhamma. 4. In Dhamma there is no place for prayers, pilgrimages, rituals, ceremonies or sacrifices. 5. Morality is the essence of Dhamma. Without it there is no Dhamma. 6. Morality in Dhamma arises from the direct necessity for man to love man. 7. It does not require the sanction of God. It is not to please God that man has to be moral. It is for his own good that man has to love man. Mere morality is not enough. It must be sacred and universal. 1. When is a thing sacred? Why is a thing sacred? 2. In every human society, primitive or advanced, there are some things or beliefs which it regards as sacred and the rest as profane. 3. When a thing or belief has reached the stage of being sacred, pavitra, it means that it cannot be violated. Indeed, it cannot be touched. It is taboo. 4. Contrary to this, a thing or a belief which is profane, apavitra, i.e. outside the field of the sacred, may be violated. It means one can act contrary to it, without feeling any fear or qualms of conscience. 5. The sacred is something holy. To transgress it is a sacrilege. 6. Why is a thing made sacred? To confine the scope of the question to the matter in hand, why morality should have been made sacred? 7. 3 factors seem to have played their part in making morality sacred. 8. The first factor is the social need for protecting the best. 9. The background of this question lies embedded in what is called the struggle of existence and the survival of the fittest. 10. This arises out of the theory of evolution. It is common knowledge that evolution takes place through a struggle for existence because the means of food supply in early times were so limited. 11. The struggle is bitter. Nature is said to be red in claw and tooth. 12. In this struggle which is bitter and bloody only the fittest survive. 13. Such is the original state of society. 14. In the course of ancient past someone must have raised the question, is the fittest, the strongest, the best? Would not the weakest if protected be ultimately the best for advancing the ends and aims of society? 15. The then prevailing state of society seems to have given an answer in the affirmative. 16. Then comes the question, what is the way to protect the weak? 17. Nothing less than to impose some restraints upon the fittest. 18. In this lies the origin and necessity for morality. 19. This morality had to be sacred because it was imposed originally on the fittest, i.e. the strongest. 20. This has very serious consequences. 21. First, does morality in becoming social become antisocial? 22. It is not that there is no morality among thieves. There is morality among businessmen. There is morality among fellow castemen, and there is also morality among a gang of robbers. 23. But this morality is marked by isolation and exclusiveness. It is a morality to protect group interest. It is therefore antisocial. 24. It is the isolation and exclusiveness of this kind of morality which throws its antisocial spirit in relief. 25. The same is true where a group observes morality because it has interests of its own to protect. 26. The results of this group organization of society are far-reaching. 27. If society continues to consist of antisocial groups, society will remain a disorganized and a factional society. 28. The danger of a disorganized and factional state of society is that it sets up a number of different models and standards. 29. In the absence of common models and common standards, society cannot be a harmonious whole. 30. With such different models and standards, it is impossible for the individual to attain consistency of mind. 31. A society which rests upon the supremacy of one group over another irrespective of its rational or proportionate claims inevitably leads to conflict. 32. The only way to put a stop to conflict is to have common rules of morality which are sacred to all. 33. There is the third factor which requires morality to be made sacred and universal. It is to safeguard the growth of the individual. 34. Under the struggle for existence or under group rule, the interests of the individuals are not safe. 35. The group setup prevents an individual from acquiring consistency of mind, which is possible only when society has common ideals, common models. His thoughts are led astray, and this creates a mind whose seeing unity is forced and distorted. 36. Secondly, the group setup leads to discrimination and denial of justice. 37. The group setup leads to stratification of classes. Those who are masters remain masters, and those who are born in slavery remain slaves. Owners remain owners and workers remain workers. The privileged remain privileged, and the serfs remain serfs. 38. This means that there can be liberty for some but not for all. This means that there can be equality for a few but none for the majority. 39. What is the remedy? The only remedy lies in making fraternity universally effective. 40. What is fraternity? It is nothing but another name for brotherhood of men, which is another name for morality. 41. This is why the Buddha preached that Dhamma is morality, and as Dhamma is sacred, so is morality. How similarities in terminology conceal fundamental difference. Section I. Rebirth. Preliminary. 1. What happens after death is a question often asked. 2. The contemporaries of the Buddha held two different views. One set was called eternalist, and the other was called annihilationist. 3. The eternalist said that the soul knows no death, therefore life is eternal. It is renewed by rebirth. 4. The thesis of the annihilationists was summed up in one word, Uchchedvad, which meant that death is the end of everything. There is nothing left after death. 5. The Buddha was not an eternalist, for it involved a belief in the existence of a separate, immortal soul to which he was opposed. 6. Was the Buddha an annihilationist? With his belief in the non-existence of the soul, the Buddha would naturally be expected to be an annihilationist. 7. But in the Algadupamma Sutta, Buddha complains that he is called an annihilationist when as a matter of fact he is not. 8. This is what he says, though this is what I affirm, and what I preach, yet some recluses and Brahmins, wrongly, erroneously and falsely charge me in defiance of facts, with being an annihilationist and with preaching the disintegration, destruction and extirpation of human beings. 9. It is just what I am not, and what I do not affirm, that is wrongly, erroneously, and falsely charged against me by these good people who would make me out to be an annihilationist. 10. If this statement is a genuine one, and is not an interpolation by those who wanted to foist a Brahmanic doctrine on Buddhism, the statement raises a serious dilemma. 11. How can the Buddha not believe in the existence of the soul and yet say that he is not an annihilationist? 12. This raises the question, did the Buddha believe in rebirth? Rebirth of what? 1. Did the Buddha believe in rebirth? 2. The answer is in the affirmative. 3. It is better to split this question further into two parts, 1. Rebirth of what and 2. Rebirth of whom. 4. It is better to take each one of these two questions separately. 5. Here we may consider the first, rebirth of what. 6. This question is almost always ignored. It is because of the mixing of the two questions that so much confusion has arisen. 7. According to the Buddha, there are 4 elements of existence which go to compose the body. They are 1. Prithvi, 2. Apa, 3. Tej, and 4. Vayu. 8. Question is, when the human body dies, what happens to these 4 elements? Do they also die along with dead body? Some say that they do. 9. The Buddha said no. They join the mass of similar elements floating in Akash, space. 10. When the 4 elements from this floating mass join together, a new birth takes place. 11. This is what the Buddha meant by rebirth. 12. The elements need not and are not necessarily from the same body which is dead. They may be drawn from different dead bodies. 13. It must be noted that the body dies, but the elements are ever living. 14. This is the kind of rebirth in which the Buddha believed. 15. Great light is thrown upon the subject by Sariputta in his dialogue with Mahakottita. 16. It is said that once when the Lord was staying at Shravasti in Jita's grove in Anathpindika's Aram, the Mahakottita, rising up at eventide from his meditations, went to Sariputta and asked him to elucidate some of the questions which troubled him. 17. The following was one of them. 18. Mahakottita asked, how many factors has the first ecstasy, dhyana, put from it, and how many does it retain? 19. Sariputta replied, 5 of each. Gone are lusts, malevolence, torpor, worry and doubt. Observation, reflection, zest, satisfaction and a focused heart persist. 20. Mahakottita asked, take the 5 senses of sight, sound, smell, taste and touch, each with its own particular province and range of function, separate and mutually distinct. What ultimate base have they? Who enjoys all their 5 provinces and ranges? 21. Sariputta replied, mind, mano. 22. Mahakottita asked, on what do these 5 faculties of sense depend? 23. Sariputta replied, on vitality. 24. Mahakottita asked, on what does vitality depend? 25. Sariputta, on heat. 26. Mahakottita asked, on what does heat depend? 27. Sariputta replied, on vitality. 28. Mahakottita asked, you say that vitality depends on heat, you also say that heat depends on vitality. What precisely is the meaning to be attached to this? 29. Sariputta replied, I will give you an illustration. Just as in the case of a lamp, the light reveals the flame and the flame the light, so vitality depends upon heat and heat on vitality. 30. Mahakottita asked, how many things must quit the body before it is flung aside and cast away like a senseless log? 31. Sariputta answered, vitality, heat and consciousness. 32. Mahakottita asked, what is the difference between a lifeless corpse and an almsman in trance, in whom perception and feelings are stilled? 33. Sariputta replied, in the corpse not only are the plastic forces of the body and speech and mind stilled and quiescent, but also vitality is exhausted, heat is quenched and the faculties of sense broken up, whereas in the almsman in trance vitality persists, heat abides, and the faculties are clear, although respiration, observation and perception are stilled and quiescent. 34. This probably is the best and most complete exposition of death or annihilation. 35. There is only one lacuna in this dialogue. Mahakottita should have asked Sariputta one question. What is heat? 36. What answer Sariputta would have given, it is not easy to imagine. But there can be no doubt that heat means energy. 37. Thus amplified, the real answer to the question, what happens when the body dies? Is, the body ceases to produce energy. 38. But this is only a part of the answer. Because death also means that whatever energy that had escaped from the body joins the general mass of energy playing about in the universe. 39. Annihilation has therefore a twofold aspect. In one of its aspects it means cessation of production of energy. In another aspect it means a new addition to the stock of general floating mass of energy. 40. It is probably because of this twofold aspect of annihilation that the Buddha said that he was not an absolute annihilationist. He was an annihilationist so far as soul was concerned. He was not an annihilationist so far as matter was concerned. 41. So interpreted, it is easy to understand why the Buddha said that he was not an annihilationist. He believed in the regeneration of matter and not in the rebirth of the soul. 42. So interpreted, the Buddha's view is in consonance with science. 43. It is only in this sense that the Buddha could be said to have believed in rebirth. 44. Energy is never lost. That is what science affirms. Annihilation in the sense that after death nothing is left would be contrary to science. For it would mean that energy is not constant in volume. 45. This is the only way by which the dilemma could be solved. Rebirth of whom? 1. The most difficult question is rebirth of whom? 2. Does the same dead person take a new birth? 3. Did the Buddha believe in this thesis? The answer is most improbable. 4. The answer depends upon the elements of existence of the dead man meeting together and forming a new body, then the possibility of the rebirth of the same sentient being is possible. 5. If a new body is formed after a mixture or the different elements of the different men who are dead, then there is rebirth, but not the rebirth of the same sentient being. 6. This point has been well explained by Sister Khema to King Pasendi. 7. Once the Exalted One was staying near Savatthi at Jita Grove in Anathapindika's Aram. 8. Now on that occasion the Sister Khema, after going her rounds among the Kosana, took up her quarters at Tornavattu, between Shravasthi and Saketa. 9. Now the Raja Pasendi of Kosala was journeying from Saketa to Shravasthi, and midway between Saketa and Shravasthi he put up for one night at Tornavattu. 10. The Raja Pasendi of Kosala called a certain man and said, "Come thou, good fellow. Find out some recluse or Brahman such that I can wait upon him today." 11. Even so, your majesty, said that man in reply to the Raja Pasendi of Kosala, and after wandering through all Tornavattu he saw not any one, either recluse or Brahman, on whom the Raja Pasendi might wait. 12. Then that man saw the Sister Khema, who had come to reside at Tornavattu. And on seeing her he went back to the Raja Pasendi of Kosala and said, 13. Your Majesty, there is no recluse or Brahman in Tornavattu such that your Majesty can wait upon him. But, your Majesty, there is a sister named Khema, a woman disciple of that Exalted One. Now of this lady a lovely rumor has gone abroad, that she is sage, accomplished, shrewd, widely learned, a brilliant talker, of goodly ready wit. Let your Majesty wait upon her. 14. So the Raja Pasendi of Kosala went to visit the Sister Khema, and on coming to her saluted and sat down at one side. So seated he said to her, 15. How say you, lady? Does the Tathagat exist after death? 16. That also, Maharaja, is not revealed by the Exalted One. 17. How then, lady? When asked, does the Tathagat exist after death? You reply, that is not revealed by the Exalted One, and when I ask the other questions, you make the same reply. Pray, lady, what is the reason, what is the cause, why this thing is not revealed by the Exalted One? 18. Now in this matter, Maharaja, I will question you. Do you reply as you think fit? Now how say you, Maharaja? Have you some accountant, some ready reckoner or calculator, able to count the sand in Ganges, thus, there are so many 100 grains, or so many 1,000 grains, or so many hundreds of thousands of grains of sand? 19. No, indeed, lady. 20. Then have you some accountant, ready reckoner or calculator able to reckon the water in the mighty ocean, thus, there are so many gallons of water, so many hundreds, so many thousands, so many hundreds of 1,000 gallons of water? 21. No, indeed, lady. 22. How is that? 23. Mighty is the ocean, lady, deep, boundless, unfathomable. 24. Even so, Maharaja, if one should try to define the Tathagat by his bodily form, that bodily form of the Tathagat is abandoned, cut down at the root, made like a palm tree stump, made something that is not, made of a nature not to spring up again in future time. Set free from reckoning as body, Maharaja, is the Tathagat. He is deep, boundless, unfathomable, just like the mighty ocean. To say, the Tathagat exists after death does not apply. To say, the Tathagat exists not after death, does not apply. To say, the Tathagat both exists and exists not, neither exists nor not exists after death, does not apply. 25. If one should try to define the Tathagat by feeling, that feeling of the Tathagat is abandoned, cut down at the root. Yet free from reckoning as feeling is the Tathagat, Maharaja, deep, boundless, unfathomable like the mighty ocean. To say, the Tathagat exists after death, exists not after death, does not apply. 26. So also if one should try to define the Tathagat by perception, by the activities, by consciousness. Set free from reckoning by consciousness is the Tathagat, deep, boundless, unfathomable as the mighty ocean. To say, the Tathagat exists after death, exists not after death, does not apply. 27. Then the Raja Pasendi of Kosala was delighted with the words of the sister Khema and took pleasure therein. And he rose from his seat, saluted her by the right and went away. 28. Now on another occasion the Raja went to visit the Exalted One, and on coming to him saluted him and sat down at one side. So seated he said to the Exalted One. 29. Pray, Lord, does the Tathagat exist after death? 30. Not revealed by me, Maharaja, is this matter. 31. Then Lord, the Tathagat does not exist after death. 32. That also, Maharaja, is not revealed by me. 33. He then asks the other questions and gets the same reply. 34. How then, Lord? When I ask the question, does the Tathagat exist? Does he not exist after death? You reply, it is not revealed by me. Pray, Lord, what is the reason, what is the cause why this thing is not revealed by the Exalted One? 35. Now, Maharaja, I will question you. Do you reply as you think fit? Now what say you, Maharaja? Have you some accountant? The rest is exactly as before. 36. Wonderful, Lord. Strange it is, Lord, how the explanation both of master and disciple, both in spirit and in letter, will agree, will harmonize, will not be inconsistent, that is, in any word about the highest. 37. On a certain occasion, Lord, I went to visit the sister Khema and asked her the meaning of this matter, and she gave me the meaning in the very words, in the very syllables used by the Exalted One. Wonderful, Lord. Strange it is, Lord, how the explanation both of master and disciple will agree, will harmonize, in spirit and in letter, how they will not be inconsistent, that is, in any word about the highest. 38. Well, Lord, now we must be going. We are busy folk. We have many things to do. 39. Do now what you think it is time for, Maharaja. 40. Thereupon the Raja Pasendi of Kosala was delighted with the words of the Exalted One and welcomed them. And he rose from his seat, saluted the Exalted One by the right and went away. Section 2. Karma. Is the Buddhist doctrine of karma the same as the Brahmanic doctrine? 1. There is no doctrine in the Buddha's Dhamma which has created so much confusion as this doctrine of karma. 2. What is its place in the Buddha's Dhamma, and what is its significance, which has already been told? 3. Ignorant Hindus out of sheer want of understanding say by comparing merely the similarity of words that Buddhism is the same as Brahmanism or Hinduism. 4. The educated and orthodox section of the Brahmins also do the same. They do so deliberately to mislead the ignorant masses. 5. The educated Brahmins know full well that the Buddhist law of karma is quite different from the Brahminic law of karma. Yet they keep on saying that Buddhism is the same as Brahmanism and Hinduism. 6. The similarity in terminology gives them an easy handle for their false and malicious propaganda. 7. It is, therefore, necessary to examine the position closely. 8. The Buddha's law of karma, however much may be similarity of words, cannot be the same in its connotation as the Brahminic law of karma. 9. The premises of the two are so widely different, indeed so widely opposed, that the result of the two cannot be the same. They must be different. 10. The principles of the Hindu law of karma may be stated seriatim for convenience. 11. The Hindu law of karma is based on the soul. The Buddhist is not. In fact, there is no soul in Buddhism. 12. The Brahminic law of karma is hereditary. 13. It goes on from life to life. This is so because of the transmigration of the soul. 14. This cannot be true of the Buddhist law of karma. This is also because there is no soul. 15. The Hindu law of karma is based on the existence of a soul which is distinct from the body. When the body dies, the soul does not die. The soul flies away. 16. This is not true of the Buddhist law of karma. 17. According to the Hindu law of karma, what happens when a man does a karma is this. His act produces twofold results. It affects the doer, and secondly, it produces an impress upon his soul. 18. Each act he does produces an impress upon his soul. 19. When a man dies and when his soul escapes, the soul is full of such impressions. 20. It is these impressions which determine his birth and status in his future life. 21. This Hindu theory is inconsistent with the Buddhist theory of no soul. 22. For these reasons, the Buddhist doctrine of karma cannot be and is not the same as the Hindu doctrine of karma. 23. It is therefore simply foolish to talk about the Buddhist doctrine of karma being the same as the Brahminic doctrine of karma. 24. All that one can say is beware of this jugglery. Did the Buddha believe in past karma having effect on future life? 1. The law of karma was enunciated by the Buddha. He was the first to say, reap as you sow. 2. He was so emphatic about the law of karma that he maintained that there could be no moral order unless there was a stern observance of the law of karma. 3. The Buddha's law of karma applied only to karma and its effect on present life. 4. There is, however, an extended doctrine of karma. According to it, karma includes karma done in past life or lives. 5. If a man is born in a poor family, it is because of his past bad karma. If a man is born in a rich family, it is because of his past good karma. 6. If a man is born with a congenital defect, it is because of his past bad karma. 7. This is a very pernicious doctrine. For in this interpretation of karma there is no room left for human effort. Everything is predetermined for him by his past karma. 8. This extended doctrine is often found to be attributed to the Buddha. 9. Did the Buddha believe in such a doctrine? 10. To examine this extended doctrine properly, it is better to change the language in which it is usually expressed. 11. Instead of saying that past karma is transmitted, it should be better if it was said that past karma is inherited. 12. This change of language enables us to test it by the law of heredity. at the same time it does no harm to the doctrine either to its de jure or de facto connotation. 13. This restatement makes it possible to pose the two questions which could not otherwise be posed and without answering which the matter could not be made clear. 14. The first question is, how is past karma inherited? What is the process? 15. The second question is, what is the nature of past karma in terms of heredity? Is it an inherent characteristic or acquired characteristic? 16. What do we inherit from our parents? 17. Starting with science, the new individual begins when a sperm enters the egg. Fertilization consists in fusion of the head of the sperm with the nucleus of the egg. 18. Each human being takes its origin from the union of two bits of living matter, an egg from the mother which has been fertilized by a single sperm from the father. 19. That human birth is genetic is told by the Buddha to a yakka who came to discuss the matter with him. 20. The Exalted One was then staying near Rajagraha, on the hill called Indra's Peak. 21. Now that yakka drew near to the Exalted One and addressed him as follows. Material form is not the living soul. So says et enlightened one. Then how doth soul possess this body? Whence to soul doth come? Are bunch of bones and bowels. How doth soul within the mother cave suspended bide? 22. To this the Exalted One replied. At first the Kalala takes birth, and thence the abud. Therefrom the pesi grows, developing as ghana in its turn. Now in the ghana doth appear the hair, the down, the nails. And whatsoever food and drink the mother of him takes, thereby the man in mother's womb doth live and grow. 23. But the Hindu doctrine differs. 24. It says that the body is genetic, but the soul is not. It is implanted into the body from outside. The doctrine is unable to specify the source. 25. Turning to the second question as to what is the nature of past karma, it must be determined whether it is an inherent characteristic or an acquired characteristic. 26. Unless an answer to this question is forthcoming, it cannot be tested by the scientific theory of heredity. 27. But assuming there is an answer one way or the other to this question, how is it possible to get any help from science, whether it is a sensible theory or senseless theory? 28. According to science, a child inherits the characteristics of his parents. 29. In the Hindu doctrine of karma, a child inherits nothing from its parents except the body. The past karma in the Hindu doctrine is the inheritance of the child by the child and for the child. 30. The parents contributes nothing. The child brings everything. 31. Such a doctrine is nothing short of an absurdity. 32. As shown above, the Buddha did not believe in such an absurdity. 33. Yes, if it were not reborn, but if it were, no. 34. Give me an illustration. 35. Suppose, O king, a man were to steal another man's mangoes, would the thief deserve punishment? 36. Yes. 37. But he would not have stolen the mangoes the other set in the ground. Why would he deserve punishment? 38. Because those he stole were the result of those that were planted. 39. Just so, great king, this name and form commits deeds, either pure or impure, and by that karma another name and form is reborn. And therefore is it not set free from its evil deeds. 40. Very good, Nagsena. 41. The king said, when deeds are committed, Nagsena, by one name and form, what becomes of those deeds? 42. The deeds would follow it, O king, like a shadow that never leaves it. 43. Can anyone point out those deeds, saying, here are those deeds or there? 44. No. 45. Give me an illustration. 46. Now what do you think, O king? Can anyone point out the fruits which a tree has not yet produced, saying, 47. Here they are, or there? 48. Certainly not, sir. 49. Just so, great king, so long as the continuity of life is not cut off, it is impossible to point out the deeds that are done. 50. Very good, Nagsena. 3. Did the Buddha believe in past karma having effect on future life? Concluded. 1. The Buddha's doctrine of past karma is thus in keeping with science. 2. He did not believe in the inheritance of past karma. 3. How can he, having held to the view that birth is genetic and whatever inheritance comes to the child it comes through its parents? 4. Apart from logic, there is more direct evidence on the point contained in a sutta called the Kula Dukha Khada Sutta, which contains a dialogue between the Buddha and the Jains. 5. In this dialogue, this is what the Buddha says: Niganthas, you have done evil in the past, extirpate it by these severe austerities. Every present restraint on body, speech and mind will hereafter undo the evil doings of the past. Hence, by expelling through penance all past misdeeds, and by not committing fresh misdeeds, the future becomes cleared. With the future cleared, the past is wiped out. With the past wiped out, it is no more, with ill no more, painful feelings are no more, and with painful feelings now no more, all ill will be outworn. This teaching commends and approves itself to us, and we rejoice in it. 6. Thereupon, I said to those Niganthas, do you know, reverend sirs, whether you had an existence before this or you were not non-existent? 7. No, sir. 8. Do you know that, in a former existence, you were guilty and not guiltless of misdeeds? 9. No. 10. Do you know that, in that former existence, you were guilty and not guiltless of this or that specific misdeed? 11. No. 12. Secondly, the Buddha asserts that the status of a man may be governed not so much by heredity as by his environment. 13. In the Devdaha Sutta, this is what the Buddha says: some recluses and Brahmans there are who affirm and hold the view that whatsoever the individual experiences, be it pleasant or unpleasant or neither, all comes from former actions. Hence, by expiation and purge of former misdeeds and by not committing fresh misdeeds, nothing accrues for the future. The misdeeds die away. As misdeeds die away, ill dies away. As ill dies away, feelings die away. And as feelings die away, all ill will wear out and pass. This is what the Niganthas affirm. 14. If it is because of their birth's environment that creatures experience pleasure and pain, the Niganthas are blameworthy, and they are also blameworthy if environment is not the cause. 15. Now these statements of the Buddha are very relevant. How could the Buddha throw doubt on past karma if he believed in it? How could the Buddha maintain pain and pleasure in present life being due to environment if he believed that it was due to past karma? 16. The doctrine of past karma is a purely Brahmanic doctrine. Past karma taking effect in present life is quite consistent with the Brahmanic doctrine of soul, the effect of karma on soul. But it is quite inconsistent with the Buddhist doctrine of non-soul. 17. It has been bodily introduced into Buddhism by someone who wanted to make Buddhism akin to Hinduism or who did not know what the Buddhist doctrine was. 18. This is one reason why it must be held that the Buddha could not have preached such a doctrine. 19. There is another and a more general reason why it must be held that the Buddha could not have preached such a doctrine. 20. The basis of the Hindu doctrine of past karma as the regulator of future life is an iniquitous doctrine. What could have been the purpose of inventing such a doctrine? 21. The only purpose one can think of is to enable the state or the society to escape responsibility for the condition of the poor and the lowly. 22. Otherwise, such an inhuman and absurd doctrine could never have been invented. 23. It is impossible to imagine that the Buddha, who was known as the Mahakarunika, could have supported such a doctrine. Section 3. Ahimsa. The different ways in which it was interpreted and followed. 1. Ahimsa or non-killing forms a very important part of the Buddha's teachings. 2. It is intimately connected with Karuna and Mithri. 3. The question has, however, been raised whether his ahimsa was absolute in its obligation or only relative. Was it only a principle? Or was it a rule? 4. People who accept the Buddha's teachings find it difficult to accept ahimsa as an absolute obligation. They say that such a definition of ahimsa involves the sacrifice of good for evil, the sacrifice of virtue for vice. 5. This question requires to be clarified. There is no subject which is a matter of greater confusion than this subject of ahimsa. 6. How have the people of Buddhist countries understood and practiced ahimsa? 7. This is an important question which must be taken into account. 8. The monks of Ceylon fought against and asked the people of Ceylon to fight against the foreign invaders. 9. On the other hand, the monks of Burma refused to fight against the foreign invaders and asked the Burmese people not to fight. 10. The Burmese people eat eggs but not fish. 11. This is how ahimsa is understood and followed. 12. Recently, the German Buddhist Association passed a resolution by which they accepted all the Panchsilas except the first, which deals with ahimsa. 13. This is the position about the doctrine of ahimsa. True meaning of ahimsa. 1. What does ahimsa mean? 2. The Buddha has nowhere given any definition of ahimsa. In fact, he has very seldom, if at all, referred to the subject in specific terms. 3. One has, therefore, to spell out his intention from circumstantial evidence. 4. The first circumstantial evidence on the point is that the Buddha had no objection to eating meat if it was offered to him as part of his alms. 5. The monk can eat meat offered to him provided he was not a party to the killing of it. 6. He resisted the opposition of Devdatta, who insisted that the monks should be prohibited from eating meat given to them by way of alms. 7. The next piece of evidence on the point is that he was only opposed to the killing of animals in yajna, sacrifice. This he has himself said. 8. Ahimsa Paramo Dharma is an extreme doctrine. It is a Jain doctrine. It is not a Buddhist doctrine. 9. There is another piece of evidence which is more direct than circumstantial, which almost amounts to a definition of ahimsa. He has said, "Love also that you may not wish to kill any." This is a positive way of stating the principle of ahimsa. 10. From this it appears that the doctrine of ahimsa does not say kill not. It says love all. 11. In the light of these statements, it is quite easy to have a clear understanding of what the Buddha meant by ahimsa. 12. It is quite clear that Buddha meant to make a distinction between will to kill and need to kill. 13. He did not ban killing where there was need to kill. 14. What he banned was killing where there was nothing but the will to kill. 15. So understood, there is no confusion in the Buddhist doctrine of ahimsa. 16. It is a perfectly sound or moral doctrine which everyone must respect. 17. No doubt he leaves it to every individual to decide whether the need to kill is there. But with whom else could it be left? Man has pradnya and he must use it. 18. A moral man may be trusted to draw the line at the right point. 19. Brahmanism has in it the will to kill. 20. Jainism has in it the will never to kill. 21. The Buddha's ahimsa is quite in keeping with his middle path. 22. To put it differently, the Buddha made a distinction between principle and rule. He did not make ahimsa a matter of rule. He enunciated it as a matter of principle or way of life. 23. In this he no doubt acted very wisely. 24. A principle leaves you freedom to act. A rule does not. Rule either breaks you or you break the rule. Section 4. Transmigration. 1. The Blessed Lord preached that there was rebirth. But the Blessed Lord also preached that there was no transmigration. 2. There were not wanting people who criticized the Lord for preaching what they regarded as to such contradictory doctrines. 3. How can there be rebirth unless there is transmigration? Asked the critics. 4. There is here a case of rebirth without transmigration, they said. Can this be? 5. There is no contradiction. There can be rebirth although there is no transmigration. 6. This has been well explained by Nagsena in his replies to the questions of King Milinda. 7. Milinda, king of Bactria, asked Nagsena, did the Buddha believe in rebirth, transmigration? 8. His reply was yes. 9. Is this not a contradiction? 10. Nagsena replied, no. 11. Can there be rebirth without a soul? 12. Nagsena said, of course, yes, there can be. 13. Explain how it can be. 14. The king said, where there is no transmigration, Nagsena, can there be rebirth? 15. Yes, there can. 16. But how can that be? Give me an illustration. 17. Suppose a man, O king, were to light a lamp from another lamp, can it be said that the one transmigrates from or to the other? 18. Certainly not. 19. Just so, great king, is rebirth without transmigration. 20. Give me a further illustration. 21. Do you recollect, great king, having learnt, when you were a boy, some verse or other from your teacher? 22. Yes, I recollect that. 23. Well then, did that verse transmigrate from your teacher? 24. Certainly not. 25. Just so, great king, is rebirth without transmigration. 26. Very good, Nagsena. 27. The king said, is there such a thing, Nagsena, as the soul? 28. In the highest sense, O king, there is no such thing. 29. Very good, Nagsena. Section V. Causes of this misunderstanding. 1. What the Buddha preached was heard by his audience, which largely consisted of the bhikkhus. 2. It is the bhikkhus who reported to the people at large what the Buddha had said on any particular matter. 3. The art of writing had not yet developed. The bhikkhus had therefore to memorize what they had heard. Not every bhikkhu cared to memorize what he heard. But there were some who had made it their profession to memorize. They were called bhankas. 4. The Buddhist canonical literature is as vast as ocean. To memorize all this was indeed a great feat. 5. In reporting the Buddha, it has often been found that he has been misreported. 6. Many cases of misreporting had been brought to the knowledge of the Buddha while he was alive. 7. Reference may be made by way of illustration to 5 such cases. One is mentioned in the Alvedupma Sutta, and the other in the Mahakamma Vibhanga Sutta, a third in the Kannakatala Sutta, fourth in the Mahatanha Sankhya Sutta, and fifth in the Jivka Sutta. 8. There were perhaps many more such cases of misreporting. For we find that even the bhikkhus going to the Buddha asking him to tell them what they should do in such contingencies. 9. The cases of misreporting are common with regard to karma and rebirth. 10. These doctrines have also a place in the Brahminic religion. Consequently, it was easy for the Bhankas to incorporate the Brahminic tenets into the Buddhist religion. 11. One has therefore to be very careful in accepting what is said in the Buddhist canonical literature as being the word of the Buddha. 12. There is, however, one test which is available. 13. If there is anything which could be said with confidence, it is, he was nothing if not rational, if not logical. Anything therefore which is rational and logical, other things being equal, may be taken to be the word of the Buddha. 14. The second thing is that the Buddha never cared to enter into a discussion which was not profitable for man's welfare. Therefore, anything attributed to the Buddha which did not relate to man's welfare cannot be accepted to be the word of the Buddha. 15. There is a third test. It is that the Buddha divided all matters into 2 classes. those about which he was certain and those about which he was not certain. On matters which fell into class I, he has stated his views definitely and conclusively. On matters which fell into class II, he has expressed his views. But they are only tentative views. 16. In discussing the three questions about which there is doubt and difference, it is necessary to bear these tests in mind before deciding what the view of the Buddha was thereon. The Buddhist way of life. On good, evil and sin. 1. Do good. Be no party to evil. Commit no sin. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. If a man should do that which is good, let him do it again and again, let him turn the desires of his heart thereto. Happy is the heaping of good. 4. Think not casually of the good, saying, it will not come to me. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. By little added to little does good grow. 5. But well done is that deed which brings one no regrets, the fruit whereof is received with delight and satisfaction. 6. Well done is the deed which done brings no regrets, the fruit whereof is received with delight and satisfaction. 7. If a man does what is good, let him do it again, let him delight in it, the accumulation of good is delightful. 8. Even a good man sees evil days so long as his good deed does not ripen, but when his good deed ripens, then does the good man see good things. 9. Let no man think lightly of good, saying in his heart, it will not come right unto me. Even by the falling of water drops a water pot is filled, the wise man becomes full of good, even if he gathers it little by little. 10. Far surpassing the fragrance of sandal or incense or lotus or jasmine is the fragrance of virtue. 11. Faint is this fragrance of incense and sandal, but the fragrance of virtue ascends to the highest place. 12. Treat not lightly of evil, saying it will not come to me. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. By little added to little evil accumulates. 13. It is not well to do a deed which done brings regrets, the fruit whereof is received with tears and lamentations. 14. If a man speaks or acts evil of mind, suffering follows him close as the wheel the hoof of the beast that draws the cart. 15. Follow not after things evil. Dwell not in negligence. Cherish not false ideas. 16. Hasten towards the excellent, suppress all evil thoughts. Whoso is backward in doing good, his mind delights in evil. 17. It is not well to do that deed which done brings regrets, the fruit whereof is received with tears and lamentations. 18. Even an evildoer sees happiness so long as his evil deed does not ripen, but when his evil deed ripens, then does the evildoer see evil. 19. Let no man think lightly of evil, saying in his heart it will not come right unto me. Even by the filling of water drops a water pot is filled, the fool becomes full of evil, even if he gathers it little by little. 20. A man should hasten towards the good, and should keep his thought away from evil. If a man does what is good slothfully, his mind delights in evil. 21. If a man commits a sin, let him not do it again, let him not delight in sin, the accumulation of evil is painful. 22. Follow the law of virtue, do not follow that of sin. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world. 23. From lust is born sorrow, from lust is born fear. To him who is wholly free from lust there is neither sorrow nor fear. 24. Hunger is the worst of diseases, component, existence the worst of distress. This knowing in accordance with truth and fact, Nibbana becomes the highest happiness. 25. The evil done by oneself, self-begotten, self-bred, crushes the doer as a diamond breaks even a precious stone. 26. He whose wickedness is very great brings himself down to that state where his enemy wishes him to be, as a creeper does with the tree which it surrounds. 27. Bad deeds and deeds hurtful to ourselves are easy to do, difficult to do what is beneficial and good. On craving and lust. 1. Do not be possessed by craving nor by lust. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. Not in a reign of riches is satisfaction of desire to be found. Unsatisfying, grievous are desires, so the wise man well knows. 4. Even in the pleasures of the heaven worlds he takes no delight, his delight is in the ending of craving, he is the disciple of the supremely awakened one, the Buddha. 5. From craving is born sorrow, from craving is born fear. To him who is wholly free from craving there is neither sorrow nor fear. 6. From craving is born sorrow, from craving is born fear. To him who is wholly free from craving there is neither sorrow nor fear. 7. He who gives himself to vanity, forgetting the real aim of life, and grasping at pleasure, will in time envy him who has exerted himself in meditation. 8. Let no man have attachment to anything, loss of it gives pain. Those who love nothing and hate nothing have no fetters. 9. From pleasure comes grief, from pleasure comes fear. He who is free from pleasure knows neither grief nor fear. 10. From attachment comes grief, from attachment comes fear. He who is free from attachment knows neither grief nor fear. 11. From lust comes grief, from lust comes fear. He who is free from lust knows neither grief nor fear. 12. From greed comes grief, from greed comes fear. He who is free from greed knows neither grief nor fear. 13. He who possesses virtue and intelligence, who is just, speaks the truth, and does what is his own business, him the world will hold dear. 14. Kinsmen, friends and lovers salute a man who has been long away and returns safe from afar. 15. In like manner his good works receive him who has done good, and has gone from this world as kinsmen receive a friend on his return. On heart and ill will. 1. Cause no hurt, cherish no ill will. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. Is there in all the world a man so blameless that he gives no occasion for reproach, as a spirited horse gives no occasion for the stroke of the lash? 4. By confidence, by virtue, by energy, by meditation, by investigation into the truth, by perfection in knowledge and conduct, by recollectedness, leave ye this great suffering behind. 5. The most excellent of ascetic practices is the practice of forbearance, of long-suffering. Most excellent of all is Nibbana, so says the Buddha. He is no ascetic who does hurt to others, he is no disciple who works another's woe. 6. To speak no ill, to do no harm, to practice restraint in conformity with the discipline, this is the counsel of the Buddha. 7. Kill nor cause slaughter. 8. He who seeking his own happiness does not punish or kill beings who also long for happiness, will find happiness. 9. If, like a shattered metal plate, gong, thou utter nothing, then thou hast reached Nibbana, anger is not known to thee. 10. He who inflicts pain on innocent and harmless person will soon come to grief. 11. He who, dressed in fine apparel of tranquility, is quiet, subdued, restrained, chaste, and has ceased to find fault with all other beings, he indeed is an ascetic, samana, a friar, bhikkhu. 12. Is there in this world any man so restrained by shame that he does not provoke reproof, as a noble horse the whip? 13. If a man offend a harmless, pure, and innocent person, the evil falls back upon that fool, like light dust thrown up against the wind. On anger and enmity. 1. Cherish no anger. Forget your enmities. Win your enemies by love. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. The fire of anger should be stilled. 4. One who harbors the thought, he reviled me, maltreated me, overpowered me, robbed me, in him anger is never stilled. 5. He who harbors not such a thought, in him anger is stilled. 6. Enemy works evil to enemy, hater to hater, but whose is the evil? 7. Let a man overcome anger by love, let him overcome evil by good, let him overcome the greedy by liberality, the liar by truth. 8. Speak the truth, do not yield to anger, give, if thou art asked for little. 9. Let a man leave anger, let him forsake pride, let him overcome all bondage, no sufferings befall the man who is not attached to name and form, and who calls nothing his own. 10. He who holds back rising anger like a rolling chariot, him I call a real driver, other people are but holding the reins. 11. Conquest begets enmity, the conquered lie down in distress. The tranquilized lies down in happiness, dismissing alike victory and defeat. 12. There is no fire like lust, no ill fortune like hatred. There is no misery like the constituents of existence, no happiness higher than the peace of Nibbana. 13. For hatred does not cease by hatred at any time, hatred ceases by love, this is an old rule. 5. On man, mind and impurities. 1. Man is what his mind makes him. 2. The training of the mind to seek the good is the first step in the path of righteousness. 3. This is the main teaching in the Buddhist way of life. 4. In everything the primal element is mind. Mind is preeminent. 5. If a man speaks or does evil, suffering follows him, close as the wheel of the hoof of the beast that draws the cart. 6. If a man speaks or acts from uprightness of mind, happiness follows him, close like his never-departing shadow. 7. This fickle, unsteady mind, difficult to guard, difficult to guide, the wise man makes it straight as the fletcher makes straight the arrow. 8. As quivers and throbs the water-dwelling fish, when thrown up out of the water onto the land, so quivers and throbs the mind forsaking the realm of Mara. 9. Hard to control, unstable is this mind, ever in quest of delight. Good is it to subdue the mind. A mind subdued brings happiness. 10. Make thyself an island, work hard, when thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt enter into the heavenly world of the elect. 11. Let a wise man blow off the impurities of himself, as a smith blows off the impurities of silver, one by one, little by little, and from time to time. 12. As the impurity which springs from the iron, when it springs from it, destroys it, thus to a transgressor's own works, lead him to the evil path. 13. But there is a taint worse than all taints. Ignorance is the greatest taint. O mendicants, throw off that taint and become taintless. 14. Life is easy to live for a man who is without shame, a crow here, a mischief maker, an insulting, bold and wretched fellow. 15. But life is hard to live for a modest man, who always looks for what is pure, who is disinterested, quiet, spotless and intelligent. 16. He who destroys life, who speaks untruth, who in the world takes what is not given him, who goes to another man's wife. 17. And the man who gives himself to drinking intoxicating liquors, he even in this world digs up his own grave. 18. O man, know this, that the unrestrained are in a bad state, take care that greediness and vice do not bring thee to grief for a long time. 19. The world gives according to its faith or according to its pleasure. If a man frets about the food and the drink given to others, he will find no rest either by day or by night. 20. He in whom that feeling is destroyed and taken out with the very root finds rest by day and by night. 21. There is no fire like passion, there is no torrent like greed. 22. The fault of others is easily perceived, but that of oneself is difficult to perceive. A man winnows his neighbor's faults like chaff, but his own faults he hides, as a cheat hides the bad dice from the player. 23. If a man looks after the faults of others, and is always inclined to be offended, his own passions will grow, and he is far from the destruction of passions. 24. Refrain from all evil, cultivate the good, cleanse your own thoughts. This is the teaching of the Buddha. On self and self-conquest. 1. If one has self, let him practice self-conquest. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. Self is the lord of self, who else could be the lord? with self well subdued, a man finds a lord such as few can find. 4. The foolish man who scorns the rule of the venerable, Arahat, of the elect, Arya, of the virtuous and follows a false doctrine, he bears fruit to his own destruction, like the fruits of the Kataka reed. 5. By oneself the evil is done, by oneself one suffers, by oneself evil is left undone, by oneself one is purified. The pure and the impure stand and fall by themselves. No one can purify another. 6. He who loves looking for pleasures only, his senses uncontrolled, immoderate in his food, idle and weak, will certainly be overthrown by his own overdoing as the wind throws down a weak tree. 7. He who lives without looking for pleasures, his senses well controlled, moderate in his food, faithful and strong, he will not be overthrown any more than the wind throws down a rocky mountain. 8. If to himself a man is dear, let him keep close watch upon himself. 9. First establish thyself in the right, then thou mayest counsel others. Let not the wise man give occasion for reproach. 10. Oneself, they say, is hard to control. If one shapes oneself according as one counsels others, thus well controlled one will have control over others. 11. A man pays in himself for the evil he has done, and in himself is purified. The good and evil are purified severally, no one purifies another. 12. Though one should conquer in battle thousands and thousands of men, whoso shall conquer himself, he is the greatest of warriors. 13. First establish thyself in the right, then thou mayest counsel others. Let not the wise man give occasion for reproach. 14. If one shapes oneself according as one counsels others, thus well controlled, one will have control over others. Oneself, they say, is hard to control. 15. Verily oneself is the guardian of oneself. What other guardian should there be? Guarded by oneself, one gets a guardian the like of which is not likely gotten. 16. If to himself a man is dear, let him keep close watch upon himself. 17. A man pays in himself for the evil he has done, and in himself is purified. The good and evil are purified severally, no one purifies another. 18. Verily oneself is the guardian of oneself. What other guardian should there be? Guarded by oneself, one gets a guardian the like of which is not easily gotten. On wisdom, justice and good company. 1. Be wise, be just and choose good company. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. If you see a man who shows you what is to be avoided, who administers reproofs, and is intelligent, follow that wise man as you would one who tells of hidden treasures. It will be better, not worse, for him who follows him. 4. Let him admonish, let him teach, let him forbid what is improper. He will be beloved of the good, by the bad he will be hated. 5. Do not have evildoers for friends, do not have low people for friends, have virtuous people for friends, have for friends the best of men. 6. He who drinks in the Dhamma lives happily, with a serene mind. The sage rejoices always in the Dhamma as preached by the elect. 7. Well makers lead the water, wherever they like, fletchers bend the arrow, carpenters bend a log of wood, wise people fashion themselves. 8. As a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise people falter not amidst blame and praise. 9. Wise people, after they have listened to the Dhamma, become serene, like a deep, smooth and still lake. 10. Good men indeed walk, verily, under all circumstances. Good men speak not out of a desire for sensual gratification, whether touched by happiness or sorrow. Wise people never appear elated or depressed. 11. It is sweet as honey, so thinks the fool, while as yet the evil has not ripened. But when the evil ripens, the fool comes to grief. 12. A fool does not know when he commits his evil deeds, but a wicked man burns by his own deeds, as if burnt by fire. 13. Long is the night to him who is awake, long is a mile to him who is tired, long is life to the foolish who do not know the true Dhamma. 14. If a traveler does not meet with one who is his better, or his equal, let him firmly keep to his solitary journey, there is no companionship with a fool. 15. These sons belong to me, and this wealth belongs to me. With such thoughts a fool is tormented. He himself does not belong to himself, how much less sons and wealth. 16. The fool who knows his foolishness is wise, at least so far. But a fool who thinks himself wise, he is called a fool indeed. 17. If a fool be associated with a wise man even all his life, he will perceive the truth as little as a spoon perceives the taste of soup. 18. If an intelligent man be associated for 1 minute only with a wise man, he will soon perceive the truth, as the tongue perceives the taste of soup. 19. Fools of poor understanding have themselves for their greatest enemies, for they do evil deeds which bear bitter fruits. 20. That deed is not well done of which a man must repent, and the reward of which he receives crying and with a tearful face. 21. No, that deed is well done of which a man does not repent, and the reward of which he receives gladly and cheerfully. 22. As long as the evil deed done does not bear fruit, the fool thinks it is like honey, but when it ripens, then the fool suffers grief. 23. And when the evil deed, after it has become known, turns to sorrow for the fool, then it destroys his bright lot, nay, it cleaves his head. 24. Let the fool wish for a false reputation, for precedence among the bhikkhus, for lordships in the convents, for worship among other people. 25. A man is not an elder because his head is grey, his age may be ripe, but he is called old and vain. 26. He in whom there is truth, virtue, pity, restraint, moderation, he who is free from impurity and is wise, he is called an elder. 27. An envious, stingy, dishonest man does not become respectable by means of much talking only, or by the beauty of his complexion. 28. He in whom all this is destroyed, and taken out with the very root, he when freed from hatred and vice, is called respectable. 29. A man is not just if he carries a matter by violence, no, he who distinguishes both right and wrong, who is learned and guides others, not by violence, but by the same Dhamma, being a guardian of the Dhamma and intelligent, he is called just. 30. A man is not learned simply because he talks much, he who is patient, free from hatred and fear, is called learned. 31. A man is not a supporter of the Dhamma because he talks much, even if a man has learnt little, but sees the Dhamma bodily, he is supporter of the Dhamma, a man who never neglects the Dhamma. 32. If a man find a prudent companion who walks with him, is wise, and lives soberly, he may walk with him, overcoming all dangers, happy, but considerate. 33. If a man finds no prudent companion to walk with him, is wise, and lives soberly, let him walk alone, like a king who has left his conquered country behind, like an elephant in the forest. 34. It is better to live alone, there is no companionship with a fool, let a man walk alone, let him commit no sin, with few wishes, like an elephant in the forest. 35. If the occasion arises, friends are pleasant, enjoyment is pleasant, whatever be the cause, a good work is pleasant, whatever be the cause, a good work is pleasant in the hour of death, the giving up of all grief is pleasant. 36. Pleasant in the world is the state of a mother, pleasant the state of a father, pleasant the state of a samana. 37. Pleasant is virtue lasting to old age, pleasant is a faith firmly rooted, pleasant is attainment of intelligence, pleasant is avoiding of sins. 38. He who walks in the company of fools suffers a long way, company with fools as with an enemy is always painful, company with the wise is pleasure, like meeting with kinsfolk. 39. Therefore, one ought to follow the wise, the intelligent, the learned, the much enduring, the dutiful, the elect, one ought to follow such a good and wise man as the moon follows the path of the stars. 40. Follow not after vanity, nor after the enjoyment of love and lust. He who is earnest obtains ample joy. 41. When the learned man drives away vanity by earnestness, He, the wise, climbing the terraced heights of wisdom, looks down upon the fools. Free from sorrow he looks upon the sorrowing crowd, as one that stands on a mountain looks down upon them that stand upon the plain. 42. Earnest among the thoughtless, awake among the sleepers, the wise man advances like a richer, leaving behind the hack. On thoughtfulness and mindfulness. 1. In everything be thoughtful, in everything be mindful, in all things be earnest and bold. 2. This is the Buddhist way of life. 3. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts, it is made up of your thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him. Therefore, pure thoughts are important. 4. Be not thoughtless, watch your thought. Draw yourself out of the evil way, like an elephant sunk in mud. 5. Let the wise man guard his thoughts, for they are difficult to perceive, very artful, and they rush whenever they list. Thoughts well guarded bring happiness. 6. As rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, passion will break through an unreflecting mind. 7. As rain does not break through a well-thatched house, passion will not break through a well-reflecting mind. 8. This mind of mine went formerly wandering about as it liked, as it listed, as it pleased, but I shall now hold it in thoroughly, as the elder who holds the hook holds the furious elephant. 9. It is good to tame the mind, which is difficult to hold in and tightly, rushing wherever it listeth. A tamed mind brings happiness. 10. Those who bridle their mind which travels far, will be free from the bonds of temptation. 11. If a man's faith is unsteady, if he does not know the true Dhamma, if his peace of mind is troubled, his knowledge will never be perfect. 12. Whatever a hater may do to a hater, or an enemy to an enemy, a wrongly directed mind will do him greater mischief. 13. Not a mother, not a father will do so much, nor any other relatives as a well-directed mind will do us. On vigilance, earnestness and boldness. 1. When, vigilant, the wise man puts from him negligence, ascending the tower of wisdom he looks down, free from sorrow, upon the sorrow-laden race of mankind. As from a mountain top, the wise man looks upon the fools in the valley. 2. Vigilant among the negligent, awake among those asleep, as a fleet courser leaves behind a sorry nag, so go the wise. 3. Give not yourselves unto negligence. Have not to do with the lust of the flesh. The vigilant is given to meditation. 4. Earnestness leads to where death is not, heedlessness is the way to death. Those who continue in earnestness do not die, but the heedless are as if already dead. 5. Fall not away from your purpose for the sake of another, however great this latter may be. When once you have seen your goal, hold it firm and fast. 6. Be watchful. Have done with indolence. Travel the true path. Whoso walks thereon happy he lives in the world. 7. Idleness is a disgrace, constant sloth is defilement. By strenuous striving and with the help of insight you should pull out the poisoned arrow of indolence. 8. Give not yourselves unto negligence. Have not to do with the lust of the flesh. The vigilant, the given to meditation, these attain an overflowing happiness. 9. If an earnest person has roused himself, if he is not forgetful, if his deeds are pure, if he acts with consideration, if he restrains himself, and lives according to Dhamma, his glory will increase. On sorrow and happiness, on charity and kindness. 1. Poverty gives rise to sorrow. 2. But removal of poverty does not necessarily give rise to happiness. 3. Not high standard of living, but a high standard of culture is what gives happiness. 4. This is the Buddhist way of life. 5. Hunger is the worst of diseases. 6. Health is the greatest of gifts, contentedness the best riches, trust is the best of relationships, nibbana the highest happiness. 7. We must learn to live happily indeed, not hating those who hate us. 8. We must learn to live happily indeed, free from ailments among the ailing men. 9. We must learn to live happily indeed, free from greed among the greedy. 10. Mankind is ruined by passion, just as fields are damaged by weeds, therefore charity done to the passionless brings great reward. 11. Mankind is damaged by vanity, just as fields are damaged by weeds. Therefore charity done to those who are free from vanity brings great reward. 12. Mankind is ruined by lust, just as fields are damaged by weeds. Therefore charity done to those who are free from just brings great reward. 13. Charity to Dhamma exceeds all gifts. The sweetness of the Dhamma exceeds the Dhamma. The delight in the Dhamma exceeds all delights. 14. Victory breeds hatred, for the conquered is unhappy. He who has given up both victory and defeat, he, the contented, is happy. 15. There is no fire like passion, there is no losing throw like hatred, there is no pain like this body, there is no happiness higher than the rest. 16. Fix not your gaze upon the ill words and ill deeds of others, upon what others do or leave undone. Look rather at what by yourself have done or left undone. 17. Hard always is life for the modest, the seeker after purity, the detached, the retiring, the cleanly of life, the discerning. 18. Is there in the world a man so blameless that he gives no occasion for reproach, as a spirited horse gives no occasion for the stroke of the lash? Like a spirited horse that needs not the lash be fiery, be fleet. 19. Do not speak harshly to anybody, those who are spoken to will answer thee in the same way. Angry speech is painful, blows for blows will touch thee. 20. Liberty, courtesy, goodwill and unselfishness, these are to the world what the linchpin to the chariot. 21. This is the Buddhist way of life. On hypocrisy. 1. Let not anyone speak falsely. Let not anyone lead another to speak falsely, nor yet approve of the action of one who speaks falsely. Let every kind of lying and false speech be put away from among you. 2. As the perfect one speaks, so he acts. As the perfect one acts, so he speaks. And because he speaks as he acts and acts as he speaks, therefore is he called the perfect one. 3. This is the Buddhist way of life. On following the right way. 1. Choose the right way. Depart not from it. 2. There are many paths, not all lead to the right way. 3. The right path is for the happiness not of the few but of all. 4. It must be good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. 5. To follow the right way is to lead the Buddhist way of life. 6. The best way is the eightfold way, the best of truths the four words, the best of virtues passionlessness, the best of men he who has eyes to see. 7. This is the way, there is no other that leads to the purifying of intelligence. Go on this path. 8. If you go on this way, you will make an end of pain. The way was preached by me, when I had understood the removal of the thorns in the flesh. 9. You yourself must make an effort. The Tathagats are only preachers. 10. All created things perish, he who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. 11. All forms are unreal, he who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. 12. He who does not rouse himself when it is time to rise, who, though young and strong, is full of sloth, whose will and thought are weak, that lazy and idle man never finds the way to knowledge. 13. Watching his speech, well restrained in mind, let a man never commit any wrong with his body. Let a man but keep these three roads of action clear, and he will achieve the way which is taught by the wise. 14. Through real knowledge is gotten, through lack of real knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself that knowledge may grow. 15. Cut out the love of self, like an autumn lotus, with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by the Sukta. 16. Do not follow the evil law. Do not live on in thoughtlessness. Do not follow false doctrine. 17. Rouse thyself. Do not be idle. Follow the law of virtue. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world. 18. He who formerly was reckless and afterwards became sober brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. 19. He whose evil deeds are covered by good deeds brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. 20. If a man has transgressed the one law and speaks lies, there is no evil he will not do. 21. Those who are ever watchful, who study day and night, and who strive after nirvana, their passions will come to an end. 22. This is an old saying. They blame him who sits silent, they blame him who speaks much, they also blame him who says little. There is no one on earth who is not blamed. 23. There never was, there never will be, nor is there now, a man who is always blamed, or a man who is always praised. 24. Beware of the anger of the tongue, and control thy tongue. Leave the sins of the mind, and practice virtue with thy mind. 25. Earnestness is the path of nirvana, thoughtlessness the path of death. Those who are in earnest do not die, those who are thoughtless are as if dead already. Mix not true Dhamma with false Dhamma. Those who mistake false for true and true for false, there abides wrong-mindedness, they arrive not at the truth. 2. Those who know true as true and false as false, there abides right-mindedness, these arrive at the truth. 3. As rain gets into an ill-thatched house, so craving gets into an ill-trained mind. 4. As rain gets not into a well-thatched house, so craving gets not into a well-trained mind. 5. Arise. Be not negligent. Walk the good way of the teaching. Who walks in the way of the teaching, happy is he in this and in all worlds. 6. Walk the good way of the teaching, walk not in ways that are evil. Who walks in the way of the teaching, happy he lives in this and in all worlds.